More than 150 years ago, the first masked wrestler made his pro wrestling debut, operating under the incredible name of The Masked Wrestler. He debuted at the World's Fair in Paris, then took his act through France in the 1860s before moving to the US in the 1870s. He was followed by a number of other trendsetters across North America before masks inevitably made their way to Mexico. Of course, wrestling is about showmanship and drama, so where there are masks, there must also be unmaskings. In Mexico, masks are often put on the line in major matches, and winning a wrestler's mask, especially if he's a superstar, is an honor beyond any title victory. In the US, losing a mask is more of a backdrop for a story, but they can still carry a good deal of weight. I'm Ben from WhatCulture, and here are 10 of wrestling's most shocking unmaskings. Number 10. The Halloween Phantom. Halloween Havoc 1991 saw the appearance of a mysterious wrestler known only as the Halloween Phantom. The Phantom, clad in a mask and a black suit that covered his entire body, took on Tom Zenk, with the entire bout lasting less than 90 seconds. Later that evening, Eric Bischoff conducted an interview with the former announcer Paul E. Dangerously, who was returning from a kayfabe firing, and who announced that while he may have been done behind the booth, he still had his manager's license and that was the role he'd now be playing. Dangerously then brought out his new charge, none other than the Halloween Phantom, who disrobed and unmasked to reveal none other than ravishing Rick Rude. Number 9. SARA'S STALKER. The WCW invasion of WWE was still in its infancy when strange videos began appearing on Raw showing candid footage of The Undertaker at home. At the time, Taker was in his American Badass phase, so fans expected to see him humanized a bit more. But this footage, featuring Undertaker, his wife Sarah, and their dogs, was still surprising. It was also rather disturbing, given the fact that whoever recorded the footage seemed to have an unhealthy obsession with Sarah. On the 18th of June 2001 edition of Raw, the Stalker, clad in black clothing and wearing a ski mask, finally came out to the ring. He silently unmasked him, revealing 3-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion Diamond Dallas Page. Page's appearance was stunning, given that he was the first main event star from WCW to show up in WWE, but it was also shockingly daft. DDP had done his best work as a babyface, and even when he was a heel, he was never portrayed as the kind of creepy bad guy who would stalk someone. Number 8. The Black Scorpion. In 1990, WCW wanted to create a new, mysterious heel to feud with World Heavyweight Champion Sting, so they decided to get theatrical. In a series of vignettes, a robed figure threatened the champ while alluding to be someone from his past. The subtext was clear. WCW wanted fans to think that the man behind the mask was the Ultimate Warrior, who teamed with Sting early in both men's careers. Of course, being as how Warrior was WWE champion, WCW couldn't possibly deliver. Instead, the company spun its wheels, not knowing what to do, and at Clash of the Champions 12, the Black Scorpion went toe-to-toe with Sting. But before the champ could unmask him, a second Black Scorpion appeared on the entrance ramp, allowing the one in the ring to escape. After Sting beat the Black Scorpion again at Starrcade and tried to unmask him, a host of other Scorpions ran in the ring. WCW's babyfaces came out to clean house, unmasking the men as the Four Horsemen, and eventually Sting managed to tear the mask off the original Scorpion, revealing Ric Flair. Number 7. La Sombra. In Mexico, there's nothing more important than a mask versus mask match between two top stars, and in 2015, CMLL's 82nd anniversary show was headlined by a mascara contra mascara bout between two of the sport's finest. In one corner was Atlantis, the then 52-year-old legend who is arguably Mexico's greatest active masked luchador. In the other was La Sombra, who was only 25 but had already headlined some of the company's biggest recent shows. The bout was a traditional 2 out of 3 falls match, and against all odds, Atlantis emerged victorious. In a tear-filled ceremony involving his parents, La Sombra was unmasked as Manuel Alfonso Andrade Oropeza, better known now as NXT's very own suspender enthusiast Andrade Cien Almas. And he was the most beautiful man the world had ever seen. Number 6. The Higher Power. Look, we all know this one ended poorly and that Adam can book it better. Ding. But the Higher Power's unmasking was still an important moment in the fabric of the Attitude Era. I suppose you could even call it a shit unmasking for wankers, hashtag shit unmasking for wankers. Vince McMahon was the top heel in WWE in 1998 and early 1999, but after WrestleMania, The Undertaker began to supplant him. Even Vince McMahon seemed like a sympathetic character when threatened by the increasingly erratic Phenom. After Taker kidnapped Stephanie McMahon and tried to marry her in an occult ceremony, Steve Austin saved the billion-dollar princess, earning the gratitude of his arch-nemesis Mr. McMahon in the process. However, it was soon revealed that Taker was being instructed by a higher power, and after a few weeks of teasing, the corporate ministry took the ring on Raw with the Higher Power in tow. They invited Vince to come down and unmask the mysterious character, but Vince appeared on the Titantron to refuse. At that point, McMahon whipped off his hood, infamously shouting, "It was me, Austin. It was me all along." Number 5. La PARKA. While many of the aging big money stars in WCW were content to coast and collect their paychecks, Randy Savage wasn't one of them. Even into the late 90s, Macho Man was fiercely competitive and took pride in his performances, and it was that pride which allowed him to have an incredible feud with Diamond Dallas Page. When DDP turned babyface by refusing an invitation to join the New World Order, he made a powerful enemy in the form of Savage. The former WWF champion attacked Page, spray painting NWO on his back, but soon took things even further by identifying head Nitro girl Kimberly as Page's wife and spray painting her body as well. The feud continued with a particularly memorable angle on a 1997 episode of Nitro, where Savage was booked to face La Parka, a heavyweight luchador who'd nail Savage with the diamond cutter, whip off his mask to reveal he was actually DDP, and pin Savage in front of a stunned and elated crowd. Number 4. Rey Mysterio Jr. WCW's Cruiserweight division was one of the most critically acclaimed aspects of the product, with men like Dean Malenko, Ultimo Dragon, Eddie Guerrero, and Chris Jericho carrying the in-ring portion of the company's output during the Monday Night Wars. Still, the most popular Cruiserweight star the company had was Rey Mysterio Jr., a young high flyer whose aerial arsenal defied belief. Mysterio, who wore an iconic mask during his time in Mexico, ECW and WCW, was instructed by Eric Bischoff to be unmasked. Despite his objections, he ultimately had no choice but to follow his boss's orders. At Super Brawl 9, Mysterio and Conan took on the Outsiders with Rey's mask and Elizabeth's hair on the line. When the Outsiders won, Mysterio was forced to take off his mask, exposing his face for the first time ever in his career. And he was the most beautiful man anyone had. Number 3. Jushin Thunder Liger. While wrestling masks don't have the same cultural significance in Japan as they do in Mexico, there are few superstars in wrestling history whose masks are as memorable as Jushin Liger's. After cementing himself as one of the greatest junior heavyweights of all time, Liger began to take on the heavyweights. On the 20th of October 1996, he battled former IWGP heavyweight champion, the Great Muta, in a dream match that saw Muta, who was teasing a heel turn at the time, resort to cheating against Liger. Muta's chicanery reached its apex when he tore Liger's mask up, leaving the junior heavyweight face down in the ring. Muta went out of the ring to grab a chair, but when he came back in, Liger rose up to meet him, with eerie white paint on his face. Liger then ripped off his shirt, revealing markings on his body, and proceeded to fight more aggressively for the remainder of the match. This persona eventually came to be known as Kishin Liger, and would make a few more appearances over the years. Number 2. Kane. Just as there are no gimmicks in wrestling as successful as that of The Undertaker, there are no gimmicks based on other gimmicks that are as successful as Kane. When Kane first debuted, he was absolutely terrifying. Covered head to toe in red and black and even larger than his brother, he was the monster heel to end all monster heels. Even though Kane's booking would suffer over the next several years and he would turn from heel to face and back, there was one constant: his mask. One evening on Raw, Kane rejected membership of Evolution, but co-Raw GM Steve Austin made a counteroffer, a shot at Triple H's World Heavyweight title. When Raw's other GM, Eric Bischoff, announced that Kane would have to put his mask on the line, the Big Red Machine ultimately agreed. However, Triple H was successful in his title defense thanks to help from Evolution, and Kane was distraught. After his partner Rob Van Dam came out to offer him emotional support, Kane eventually pulled off the mask, revealing an oddly painted face and a half-shaved head. He then chokeslammed RVD, turning heel. Number 1. El Santo. There's no place where masks are as venerated as they are in Mexico, and there's no enmascarado as legendary as El Santo. Beginning his career in the mid-30s, he would take the Santo name in 1942. Santo became so popular that a comic book based on him was produced, which ran for 35 years, turning him into a cross-cultural icon. In 1958, Santo began to star in movies, eventually appearing in over 50 films, though through it all, he kept his mask on. Santo reportedly kept his mask on even among friends, and had a version made with an opening for his mouth so he could eat unobstructed. All of that is why it was so stunning when Santo appeared on Mexican television show Contrapunto in 1984, and, during an interview, willingly unmasked. He only lifted the front of his silver mask up briefly, but it was long enough for those watching to get a good look at his face. Just a week after that appearance, however, Santo died at the age of 66, and appropriately was buried in his mask. And that's our list. Are there any we missed off? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can even follow me here on Twitter if you fancy. I'm Ben from WhatCulture, and thanks for watching.